1862. London International Exhibition. Alexander Parkes introduces the world's first ever man-made plastic Parkesine. He actually discovered this unintentionally while trying to develop a substitute for shellac for waterproofing. This invention, though an important first step in the development of man-made plastic, was not initially successful. However, little did the world know just how big of an impact it would have on future generations.
Plastic single-handedly led to the technological advancements that are essential to the modern world. Due to the immense impacts that plastic has had not only on the environment, but also the political and economic state of the international community, plastic has changed the course of human history. Although plastic has caused several measurably negative experiences of life for people all over the world, it has also saved countless lives that would have otherwise been lost.
Before plastic became widely used, ivory, horn, cardboard, and glass were commonly used materials. As the overusage of natural resources became a pressuring issue, there arose a need for a multi-use synthetic material. The world lacked a material cheap enough, light enough, and durable enough to replace the commonly used natural resources. This is where plastic came into play. For the whole human existence prior to the invention of plastic, the natural world constrained human production. A limited supply of materials had long bounded progress. Plastic, the malleable and versatile material it is, gave producers the ability to create a wide variety of products and goods.
In 1862, when Alexander Parkes first invented Parketstein, it did not skyrocket with popularity. While his invention was revolutionary, plastic was still used on a very small scale. However, using the ideas of Parkes, Dr. Leo Baekeland created the world's first entirely synthetic plastic called Bakelite in 1907, marking the start of the modern plastics industry. Bakelite was the first thermosetting plastic, meaning it formed shape when heated. It could also take on a range of colors, making it very popular among designers. Bakelite jewelry was very common among women at the beginning of the 20th century. In 1939, when World War II started, plastics became an integral part of society. The need to conserve natural resources meant the production of synthetic materials became a priority and even played a role in the war effort. War was expensive and money was tight, so plastic's cheap nature made it very appealing to manufacturers. Plastic took on uses that it had not in the past, proving its adaptability. Plastic production became a frontier in the U.S. economy as its usage increased by 300% during World War II. After the war was over, people were ready to spend again, and due to plastic's cheap nature, they were able to do so. This led to a plastic boom after World War II and played a major role in why plastic is so prevalent in today's world.
In the short term, when plastic was first introduced into the United States because of World War II, it aided the U.S. Army and gave them a major advantage because it helped build better weapons and planes. After the war ended, plastic stayed around. It was introduced into several industries like Dow Chemicals, ExxonMobil, DuPont, and BASF. This improved the American economy because people began to invest in these companies. Americans, who were eager to spend after the devastating impacts of the war and the Great Depression, started to buy newly invented plastic products and inventions, and the economy boomed. While plastic had been around long before World War II, many of our struggles with plastic began here. Plastic began to replace the more expensive materials. As more people relied on plastic to invent new products rather than using the other materials, plastic started becoming integrated into everyday products. It became the new norm.
In the long term, plastic led to the creation of cell phones and computers. Today, our society revolves around our cell phones. It's hard to imagine what life would be in the absence of plastic. Automobiles were also a result of plastic, an invention that will greatly impact almost every American's life today. Plastic also advanced scientific and medical research through the creation of medical tools and devices like surgical gloves, syringes, insulin pens, IV tubes, and catheters. These devices have undoubtedly contributed to saving the lives of millions of people today. Socially, the plastics industry shifted the U.S. society to a society based around consumerism. Modern-day goods became more common among your average American. Middle-class Americans now had access to desired goods because plastic production costs were so low and more people could afford desirable objects. Plastics also greatly contributed to today's media industry, considering that it was the base for photographic films and cameras. It was allowed for humans to be caught on film for the first time, completely shifting the world's idea of entertainment.
However, because plastic has so many benefits, it has been consumed at an increased rate. Scientists are now starting to realize that this overproduction of plastic is very harmful to the environment. This is due to the way that plastics fail to biodegrade in the environment. They get smaller and smaller, but due to their chemical makeup, they cannot easily degrade the way that other naturally occurring substances can. They can take up to 1,000 years to finally break down.
So the two main ways that plastic breaks down in the environment is related to weather, like temperature, sunlight, and water. The sun, the UV radiation will hit the plastics and actually start to break the bonds down in the plastic. And then if it's in a water environment like the ocean, the movement or the motion of the water will physically break down the plastics. And as the plastic pieces get smaller and smaller, we then classify them as microplastics.
Microplastics can be detrimental because they stick around for ages. This threatens wildlife and spreads toxins into the ocean.
So plastics break down in the ocean into tiny little pieces we call microplastics, and we can find those plastic pieces all the way from the shallow waters down to the very deepest depths of the ocean. In fact, marine biologists have sampled deep sea fish called a lanternfish from the darkest depths of the ocean, and even they have plastic in their stomachs. That's how pervasive these microplastics are in the ocean. So another problem with plastics in the ocean is there is a Great Pacific Garbage Patch off the coast of California, and one species we see interacting with all those plastics in the ocean is the albatross. Albatross are a seafaring bird, a pelagic bird. They nest on islands in the Pacific Ocean, but the mamas, once they have their babies, they still come to California's coast to forage. So they cross over that Great Pacific Garbage Patch and very often eat plastic thinking it's prey, and then feed that plastic to their babies. And so scientists that study albatross, they have found over the last few years many dead chicks, and when they do autopsies on the chicks, almost all of them have stomachs full of plastic. The moms are erroneously feeding them plastic instead of natural prey like squid that they should be eating.
It is evident that human plastic usage is impacting marine life in ways no one realizes. This ocean pollution has changed the history of marine life and even been the reason many species go extinct. If humans are not careful, plastic could contribute to such harmful environmental changes that could possibly destroy the world we live in, along with all of mankind.
Overall, plastics became a frontier in history as they freed us from the confinements of the natural world and from limited supplies that had long bounded the ability to create an unlimited amount of certain products. Not only did this change the U.S. economy, but it also altered social boundaries as well. The arrival of these adaptable and affordable materials gave producers the ability to create an endless supply of new products, while expanding opportunities for people of modest means to become consumers.
Plastics held out the promise of a new material and cultural democracy. After the war, the U.S. became a nation of consumers. We became a society that heavily depended on the conveniences and comfort that plastic brought to us. Through the plastic industry, we had the ability to synthesize whatever we wanted and how we wanted it. However, with that came endless consequences and detrimental impacts.
With the rise of plastic pollution and its contribution to global warming, the Earth's temperatures may reach unprecedented highs, possibly taking away the lives of several humans and animals around the world. Such an invention changed the way we perceive the modern world, for both better and worse, therefore becoming an essential and undeniable part of a frontier in history.